truly pathetic," Commander Vrax snorted, his upper nostrils flaring with contempt as he observed the Earth creature through the ship's observation panel. "They call this a predator on this backwater planet? Look at it. Just sitting there." The creature in question, a house cat, was indeed just sitting there, meticulously grooming its paws on the windowsill of a suburban home. The feline occasionally glanced up at the cloaked Zarnaxian scout ship hovering 50 meters away, its perception filters clearly not fooling the animal completely. "But, sir," Lieutenant Clorix said, her voice carrying that annoying tone of caution that Vrax had come to despise, "our data suggests their planet has quite diverse predatory species. Perhaps we should." "Perhaps we should what, Lieutenant?" Vrax swiveled his eye stalks toward her. "You'd be frightened of their fluffy little pets? This is why the Galactic Council assigned me to lead this reconnaissance mission. You lack the necessary perspective." The bridge crew of the Zarnaxian vessel Inevitable Conquest exchanged nervous glances. Their mission was straightforward: assess Earth's defenses before the planned invasion. The Zarnaxian Empire needed new biological resources, and Earth, with its ridiculous abundance of water and organic matter, was an ideal target. The fact that it was populated by a relatively young spacefaring species was merely an inconvenience. "Continue the survey," Vrax commanded, settling back into his command chair. "And someone bring me a nutrition cube. Watching these pathetic creatures is making me hungry." Science Officer Pelnar approached the command platform, his data pad displaying a scrolling feed of information. "Commander, while I agree the small fuzzy quadrupeds seem harmless, our scans indicate some larger predators in various regions that might pose challenges." "Challenges?" Vrax laughed, the sound like gravel in a food processor. "To us? Have you forgotten our combat exoskeletons? Our plasma weapons? Our tactical superiority? What could possibly challenge us on this primitive mud ball?" "Well, there's this," Pelnar said, projecting a holographic image of a massive creature with rows of triangular teeth and a streamlined body. "They call it a great white shark. Aquatic predator. Quite efficient at killing." Vrax studied the image with mild interest. "Confined to water. Irrelevant to our ground operations." "And these," Pelnar continued, showing images of various big cats, wolves, and bears. "Particularly this one they call a grizzly bear. It can weigh over 600 kilograms and has claws that could potentially damage our standard armor." "Potentially," Vrax repeated mockingly. "Any predator that could potentially damage our armor is hardly worth noting. What's next? Will you warn me about their atmospheric conditions? Perhaps their gravity is potentially inconvenient?" The science officer's skin flushed a deep purple, the Zarnaxian equivalent of embarrassment. "I merely wish to be thorough, Commander." "Your thoroughness is noted and dismissed. Now, where shall we conduct our first ground reconnaissance? I want to see these fearsome Earth predators up close." Lieutenant Clorix consulted her navigation system. "There's a large wilderness area called Yellowstone National Park. Extensive biodiversity, including several predator species. Relatively low human population density." "Perfect. Set course. I want to be on the ground by local daybreak." As the Inevitable Conquest accelerated toward its destination, Vrax pulled up reports from previous scout missions. Earth had been monitored for decades, but always from a distance. This would be the first close contact reconnaissance, a necessary step before the invasion fleet arrived in 6 Earth months. The reports were frustratingly vague. Yes, humans had achieved spaceflight, but barely. They'd reached their own moon and sent primitive probes to nearby planets. Their weapons technology was primitive, mostly chemical propellants and crude explosives. Their most destructive weapons, nuclear devices, were powerful but tactically limited. Most importantly, they were completely unaware of the wider galactic community. The concept of an alien invasion existed only in their entertainment media, which Vrax found both convenient and amusing. "Commander?" The navigation officer interrupted his thoughts. We have arrived at the designated coordinates. Vrax stood, his exoskeleton whirring softly as it adjusted to his movement. Prepare the ground team. Standard reconnaissance protocol. Minimal interaction with indigenous life forms. Yes, Commander, Clorix acknowledged, already selecting personnel from the duty roster. Team will be ready in 20 minutes. Vrax nodded and headed to his quarters to prepare. He selected his personal combat armor, an impressive set of Zarnaxian military technology that enhanced his already considerable strength and equipped him with various weapons and sensors. It was excessive for a simple reconnaissance mission, but Vrax enjoyed the feeling of invulnerability it provided. When he returned to the bridge, the ground team was assembled 6 officers including Clorix and Pelnar. All were equipped with standard combat armor, though none as impressive as Vrax's. Remember, Vrax addressed them, we are here to observe and analyze. Avoid contact with humans if possible. If confronted by any wildlife, well, use your judgment. I doubt anything on this planet poses a genuine threat, but there's no need to create unnecessary incidents before the invasion. The team nodded in unison, and Vrax led them to the transport bay. Minutes later, they materialized in a wooded area near a large, steaming geological feature. Thermal activity, Pelnar noted, scanning their surroundings. This entire region sits atop what humans call a supervolcano, dormant, but still geothermally active. Fascinating, Vrax said, not bothering to hide his boredom. Now, where are these fearsome predators I have been warned about? As if on cue, a distant howl echoed through the trees. Clorix consulted her scanner. Wolf pack, approximately 2 kilometers northwest. Then northwest we go, Vrax declared, activating his armor's enhanced mobility functions. The team moved swiftly through the forest, their armor's adaptive camouflage blending with the surroundings. They found the wolf pack in a small clearing 7 adult wolves and 3 juveniles feeding on the carcass of an elk. Vrax observed them with clinical detachment. Primitive pack hunters, he noted. Efficient in their way, but hardly impressive. One of the wolves suddenly raised its head, sniffing the air. Despite the Zarnaxians' camouflage technology, the animal had detected something amiss. It growled, and the others quickly responded, forming a defensive perimeter around the juveniles. Their sensory capabilities exceed our estimates, Pelnar whispered, adjusting his scanner. They have detected us despite our superior technology, Vrax finished unimpressed. Yet observe how small they are, how fragile. He stepped forward, deliberately breaking the camouflage field. The wolves reacted immediately. The largest, presumably the alpha, lunged forward with surprising speed, teeth bared. Vrax didn't even activate his weapons. He simply swatted the animal aside with one armored limb, sending it crashing into a nearby tree. The wolf yelped in pain but quickly regained its footing. Instead of attacking again, it retreated, guiding the pack away from the strange threat. You see? Vrax turned to his team. Even their predators know when they are outmatched. This planet will fall easily. Commander, Clorix said cautiously, perhaps we shouldn't underestimate. A thunderous roar interrupted her, causing the entire team to spin toward the sound. Standing at the edge of the clearing was an enormous brown bear, its fur bristling, small eyes fixed on the aliens. Ah, Vrax said, genuinely pleased. This must be your grizzly bear, Pelnar. Finally, something with a bit of size to it. The bear rose onto its hind legs, towering over 3 meters tall. It roared again, a sound that reverberated through the clearing with primal fury. Impressive display, Vrax admitted, but ultimately just noise. The bear dropped to all fours and charged. Vrax stood his ground, curious to test the creature's strength against his armor. The impact was surprisingly forceful, actually causing Vrax to step back to maintain his balance. Well, he exclaimed, genuinely surprised. It has some strength after all. The bear swung a massive paw, claws raking across Vrax's chest plate. The armor held, but diagnostic alerts flashed in Vrax's display. The claws had actually scored the surface. Now genuinely irritated, Vrax activated his armor's offensive systems. A pulse of energy erupted from his gauntlet, striking the bear and sending it tumbling backward. The animal roared in pain and confusion, but remarkably got back up. Resilient, Vrax noted, now with a hint of respect. He adjusted the energy output and fired again. This time the bear collapsed and did not rise. "Is it dead?" Clorix asked, approaching cautiously. Pelnar scanned the fallen creature. "No, just unconscious. Remarkable cardiovascular system. Its heart rate is already stabilizing." "Tag it for biological analysis," Vrax ordered. "The invasion forces might find specimens like this useful for combat training." As Pelnar placed a tracking device on the unconscious bear, Vrax reviewed the encounter in his mind. The creature had been stronger than expected, yes, but still no match for Zarnaxian technology. If this was among the most formidable predators Earth had to offer, the planet's conquest would indeed be swift. Commander Clorix interrupted his thoughts. "Our sensors detect human activity approaching. Likely park rangers investigating the disturbance." "Time to move on," Vrax decided. "I want to observe these humans directly. Find me a settlement, something small where we can observe without being detected." The team retreated into the forest, leaving the unconscious bear behind. As they moved, Vrax couldn't shake a nagging feeling of dissatisfaction. The wolf pack had been disappointing, the bear marginally interesting. Where were the truly worthy adversaries on this planet? Perhaps, he thought, the humans themselves would prove more challenging. Though according to all reports they were fragile, emotional creatures with a puzzling attachment to concepts like freedom and individuality, hardly the stuff of formidable opponents. Little did Commander Vrax know, he was about to learn a crucial lesson about making assumptions, especially when those assumptions involved a species that had clawed its way to the top of a planetary food chain through millennia of relentless adaptation, innovation, and sheer, stubborn determination. A species that, despite its physical limitations, had managed to dominate a world filled with predators far more naturally equipped for killing than themselves. A species that called itself human. The small town of Pinecrest sat nestled between towering mountains, its population barely reaching 5,000 souls. To Commander Vrax, it looked pathetically vulnerable as the Zarnaxian team observed from a forested ridge overlooking the settlement. "Such primitive dwellings," Vrax commented, his scanner analyzing the wooden and brick structures below. "They build their habitats from dead plants and baked soil. How charmingly archaic." "Sir," Lieutenant Clorix said, pointing toward a cluster of buildings at the town's edge, "that appears to be some sort of training facility. Several humans are engaged in physical activities." Vrax adjusted his optics, zooming in on what appeared to be an outdoor training camp. Humans of various sizes were running, climbing, and engaging in what seemed like combat practice. "Perfect. Let's observe their warriors up close," Vrax decided, already moving down the slope. "Maintain camouflage. I want to see how these so-called apex predators train for battle." The team moved silently through the forest, approaching the facility from behind. A sign at the perimeter read Blackrock Survival School, where civilians become survivors. "Civilians?" Pelnar whispered, consulting his database. "This isn't a military facility. These are ordinary humans learning survival skills." "Even better," Vrax replied. "Let's see what passes for survival among these soft creatures." They positioned themselves at the edge of a clearing where a human male with impressive musculature was addressing a group of about 20 others. Unlike the military uniformity Vrax had expected, these humans varied wildly in appearance, different heights, builds, ages, and colorations. "Remember, folks," the instructor was saying, his voice carrying across the training ground. Out here in the wilderness, you are no longer at the top of the food chain. Mother Nature doesn't care about your college degree or your stock portfolio. You are just another animal trying to survive. How philosophical, Vrax whispered mockingly. They acknowledge their weakness, at least. The instructor continued. Today's scenario, you are being tracked by a predator. Could be a mountain lion, could be a bear. What do you do? Anyone? A female human raised her hand. Play dead? Depends on the predator, Jamie. Playing dead works for some bear attacks, but a mountain lion? That just makes you an easier meal. Anyone else? Another human spoke up. Make yourself look bigger and make lots of noise? Better, Doug. Predators typically avoid prey that seems dangerous or not worth the effort. But what's your first priority in any survival situation? Situational awareness. The group responded in unison. Exactly. You need to know what's around you at all times. Which is why none of you have noticed that we have visitors. Vrax froze. The human instructor was looking directly at their position, despite their active camouflage. Impossible, Vrax hissed. Our technology cannot be detected by primitive human senses. The instructor calmly walked toward them, stopping about 10 meters away. I don't know who's out there, but I can see the distortion in the air. Military tech? Some new camo system? Doesn't matter. This is private property, and you are trespassing. Clorix whispered urgently, Commander, we should retreat. Our orders were to avoid direct contact. But Vrax's pride was stung. This primitive had somehow detected them. No, I want to know how he saw through our camouflage. Before his team could protest, Vrax deactivated his cloaking field, revealing himself in full Zarnaxian battle armor. The effect on the humans was immediate and gratifying: gasps, shouts, and expressions of shock. All except the instructor, who merely raised an eyebrow. Well, he said with remarkable composure, this just became the most interesting Tuesday of my career. Human, Vrax addressed him, voice amplified by his armor's systems. How did you detect us? The instructor, whose name badge read Hunter, shrugged casually. Movement patterns. Whatever your cloaking tech does, it doesn't account for how you disturb the environment. Branches moving wrong. Birds going quiet in a pattern. Basic tracking skills. Vrax was grudgingly impressed. Basic? Your species consistently surprises me with its adaptability. Hunter crossed his arms. Since we are having this conversation, mind telling me what you are and why you are spying on my survival class? I am Commander Vrax of the Zarnaxian Empire. We are conducting reconnaissance of your planet prior to our planned annexation. Annexation, Hunter repeated. You mean invasion? A matter of semantics, Vrax replied dismissively. Your planet has resources we require. Your species will be permitted to continue existing, under our guidance. By now, some of Hunter's students had fled, while others stood frozen in shock. Hunter himself remained unnervingly calm. That's quite the announcement, he said. But I think you might be underestimating what you are up against. Vrax laughed, the sound harsh through his armor speakers. We have observed your predators, your weapons, your technology. We are not concerned. Have you now? Hunter's tone shifted subtly. And what did you think of our wildlife? Primitive. Your bear showed some promise, but ultimately disappointing. Hunter nodded thoughtfully. You know, there's an old saying among hunters and trackers, it's not the predator you see that you should worry about. It's the one you don't see coming. As if summoned by his words, a whistling sound cut through the air. Something small and fast struck Vrax's shoulder armor, exploding in a burst of electrical energy that momentarily disrupted his systems. What treachery is this? Vrax roared, spinning to face the new threat. From the tree line, more projectiles flew, striking not just Vrax but his entire team. "Commander," Helnar shouted, his armor sparking. "Local electromagnetic pulse weapons. Our systems are compromising." Through the chaos, Vrax saw humans emerging from concealed positions around the clearing, not the civilians from the survival class, but different humans. These moved with practiced precision, wearing camouflage that blended remarkably well with the forest. They carried various weapons, most now trained on the Zarnaxian team. "Allow me to introduce some friends," Hunter said, his casual demeanor unchanged. "The Palmer Special Forces operators who help out with our more advanced courses." One of these new humans approached, a female with close-cropped hair and eyes that reminded Vrax uncomfortably of the predators they'd encountered earlier. "Captain Sophie Rivera," she introduced herself curtly. "And you are currently surrounded by what we call a quick reaction force. Within 30 minutes, this airspace will be locked down, and within an hour, this mountain will have more firepower concentrated on it than most small countries." "You dare threaten me?" Vrax snarled, trying to activate his weapons systems, which responded sluggishly after the EMP blast. "Not threatening," Rivera replied calmly. "It's just explaining consequences. Those EMP rounds were designed to disable drones and electronic warfare equipment. It seems they work pretty well on whatever you are wearing too." Vrax assessed the situation rapidly. His team was surrounded, their systems compromised. While he had no doubt they could eventually overpower these humans, doing so would alert the broader human military to their presence, directly contradicting their reconnaissance objectives. "What do you want, human?" he demanded. "Information," Rivera answered simply. "You are clearly not from around here, and you just announced an invasion plan. I'd say that earns you a conversation with some people above my pay grade." Hunter stepped forward again. "Before things escalate, Commander, let me offer a suggestion. Come with us peacefully. Learn more about what you are really up against. It might save a lot of lives, yours included." Vrax's communicator crackled. "Commander," came Clorix's voice, pitched low. "The ship is detecting multiple aircraft approaching. Military signatures. Appears our presence has been noticed." "And our extraction options?" Vrax asked quietly. "Compromised. The EMP affected our transport beacons. We'd need at least 10 minutes to reset, and we'd need to move away from the current electromagnetic interference." Vrax considered his options. A tactical retreat seemed wisest, but these humans had surprised him once already. Perhaps there was value in learning more. "Very well," he announced. "I will accompany you, for diplomatic purposes." "Wise choice," Rivera nodded. "Your friends can come too, but the armor stays powered down." "Unacceptable," Vrax began, but Hunter interrupted. "Commander, right now you are a curiosity, an unknown. Push this and you become a threat. Trust me, you don't want humans to see you as a threat." Something in the human's tone gave Vrax pause. There was no fear there, only a calm certainty that Vrax found unnerving. "You may examine our armor's exterior," Vrax conceded, "but we will not remove it. It sustains our biological functions in your atmosphere." This was only partially true. Zarnaxians could breathe Earth's air for several hours without assistance, but the humans accepted the explanation. What followed was a surreal journey via human ground vehicles to a facility built into the side of a mountain. Vrax observed everything with keen interest, the efficiency with which the humans mobilized, the respect other humans showed to Rivera and her team, the communication technologies they employed. Most disturbing was how quickly they adapted to the aliens' presence. After the initial shock, the humans became methodical, professional, and utterly focused. Where was the panic? The disorganization? The fear that should accompany a first contact scenario? The facility they arrived at was clearly military but lacked the expected signs of hastily implemented security protocols. It was as if they had been prepared for this possibility. Inside, Vrax and his team were led to a surprisingly comfortable chamber with seats sized appropriately for their larger frames. Rivera left them under guard while Hunter remained, studying them with undisguised curiosity. "Your species has encountered aliens before," Vrax stated rather than asked. Hunter smiled enigmatically. "What makes you say that?" "Your lack of appropriate fear. This facility, the speed of your response." "Maybe we are just good at adapting," Hunter suggested. "It's kind of our thing." Before Vrax could respond, the chamber's door opened again. A new human entered, older, with silver hair and a bearing that immediately commanded respect. Even Rivera straightened her posture in his presence. "Commander Vrax," the human said without preamble, "I'm Director Lawrence Donovan. Welcome to Earth. I understand you have been studying our predators. Your wildlife is moderately impressive," Vrax admitted reluctantly. "Yet you found it wanting," Donovan noted. "Not threatening enough to deter your invasion plans." "Correct. Your biological weapons are inadequate." Donovan smiled, the expression never reaching his eyes. "Biological weapons? You misunderstand, Commander. Earth's predators aren't our weapons. They are our teachers." He gestured, and a wall panel slid aside, revealing a large viewing window. Beyond it was what appeared to be a training area where humans were engaged in various forms of combat practice. "Observe," Donovan continued, "every predator on Earth has taught us something. From the wolf, we learned pack tactics. From the big cats, we learned stealth and patience. From sharks, we learned efficiency. From bears, we learned territorial defense." Vrax watched as the humans demonstrated fighting techniques that did indeed echo the movements of Earth's predators. "Primitive physical combat," he scoffed. "Hardly a match for our technology." "Technology is just a tool, Commander," Donovan replied. "What matters is how you use it, and why." Another panel opened, showing a different room where humans were working with various devices Vrax couldn't immediately identify. "We have analyzed your armor," Donovan continued. "Impressive. Advanced composite materials, neural interface. Weapon systems beyond our current capabilities, but not beyond our understanding." "Impossible," Pelnar interjected. "Your species couldn't possibly comprehend Zarnaxian technology so quickly." "Reverse engineering is another thing we are good at," Donovan smiled again. "But more importantly, we understand the principles: energy conversion, quantum field manipulation. We may not have mastered the applications yet, but the theories, those we have had for decades." Vrax felt a creeping unease. "If you possess such understanding, why haven't you advanced further?" "Resources. Priorities. Ethical considerations," Donovan shrugged. "We have had other concerns. But nothing motivates human innovation like a threat." He turned to face Vrax directly. "Your reconnaissance mission has just fundamentally changed your empire's future, Commander. Not because you learned about us, but because we have now learned about you." "You threaten the Zarnaxian Empire?" Vrax's voice rose incredulously. "You cannot even leave your own solar system effectively." "Yet," Donovan corrected. "We cannot leave our solar system effectively yet. But now we have samples of your technology. We have confirmation that faster-than-light travel is possible. We have proof that we are not alone. How long do you think it will take us to catch up, now that we know what's possible?" "Generations." Vrax dismissed the concern. "Our invasion fleet will arrive in 6 months. Your planet will be ours long before you could hope to threaten us." 6 months, Donovan repeated thoughtfully. "That's actually more time than I expected. Thank you for that information." Vrax realized his tactical error too late. The human had extracted valuable intelligence with disturbing ease. "But you are making an assumption, Commander," Donovan continued. "You assume we need to match your technology to defeat you. We don't. We just need to understand it well enough to exploit its weaknesses." He pressed a control, and another screen activated, showing what appeared to be a space observation. Your ship, I presume, currently hiding behind our moon using some form of cloaking technology. Impressive. We wouldn't have detected it a year ago. Vrax stiffened. How did you? Gravitational anomaly detection. New system we have been testing. Still experimental. Fortuitous timing, wouldn't you say? For the first time, Vrax felt genuine concern. What do you want, human? A conversation. An exchange of information. It's a chance to avoid unnecessary conflict, Donovan replied simply. We are not unreasonable, Commander. Perhaps there are resources we can share, technologies we can trade. Perhaps there's no need for annexation at all. The Empire does not negotiate with pre-space species, Vrax stated firmly, falling back on Imperial protocol. Then the Empire is about to learn another lesson about humanity, Donovan said, his voice hardening slightly. We don't respond well to threats. He turned to Rivera. Captain, please escort our guests to the communication suite. I believe they will want to contact their vessel. As they were led through the facility's corridors, Vrax observed more humans preparing what appeared to be defensive systems. Some worked on weapons, others on what looked like communication arrays, still others on data analysis. Your species mobilizes quickly, he noted to Hunter, who had rejoined them. When we need to, Hunter agreed. We have had practice. Our history is basically one long series of conflicts, adaptations, and innovations driven by necessity. The warrior culture, Vrax said with newfound respect. More complicated than that, Hunter corrected. We create, we build, we explore, but when threatened, when backed into a corner, that's when you see what humans are really capable of. They reached a chamber with equipment clearly modified to interface with Zarnaxian technology. Vrax was permitted to establish communication with the inevitable conquest. Status report, he demanded once the connection was secure. The ship's acting commander appeared on screen. Sir, we have detected unusual activity. Multiple Earth space agencies have redirected satellites. Their ground-based telescopes have altered their scanning patterns. And we are detecting, sir, we are detecting active scanning of our position. Impossible, Vrax said automatically, though with less conviction than before. Confirmed, sir. They are using some form of gravity wave detection. It's primitive but effective. We have adjusted our position twice, but they keep finding us. Vrax turned to Donovan, who had entered the communication suite. What game are you playing, human? No game, Commander. Just demonstrating a point. Your invasion fleet will face a prepared Earth. The question is, what will you tell them? Vrax considered his options carefully. The initial reconnaissance had revealed humans to be far more adaptable and dangerous than expected. Their technology, while behind Zarnaxian standards, was advancing rapidly and in unpredictable ways. Most concerning was their apparent ability to quickly analyze and counter alien advantages. The Zarnaxian Empire has conquered 17 worlds, Vrax said finally. Each conquest was efficient, resource-effective, and achieved with minimal Imperial casualties. An impressive record, Donovan acknowledged. However, Vrax continued reluctantly. Each of those worlds was assessed and categorized according to threat level. None had achieved spaceflight. None had developed nuclear capabilities. But none had demonstrated your species' particular adaptability. And your point? My report will recommend reclassifying Earth as a Class 4 acquisition target, Vrax stated formally. Such classifications require additional preparation and resources. The current invasion timeline would be inadequate. Donovan nodded slowly. A postponement, then. A strategic reassessment, Vrax corrected, his pride still intact despite the circumstances. The Empire will return human, with greater forces, first with better intelligence. And we will be waiting. Donovan replied calmly. With better defenses. With more advanced technology. The longer you wait, Commander, the wider the gap closes. Vrax knew the human was right, which made the situation all the more frustrating. Every moment the invasion was delayed gave these resourceful, adaptable beings more time to prepare. There is another option, Donovan offered, one our respective governments might find mutually beneficial. Speak, Vrax commanded, though he suspected he knew what was coming. Diplomatic recognition, trade agreements, cultural exchange. The foundations of alliance rather than conquest. Vrax laughed bitterly. The Empire does not ally with lesser species. Then perhaps it's time for the Empire to evolve, Donovan suggested. After all, adaptation is the key to survival. We have learned that from our predators. Perhaps you can learn it from us. Later, leader, as Vrax and his team prepared to return to their ship, the humans having cleverly extracted significant technological data while helping repair their transport systems, he found himself in a final conversation with Hunter. You know what fascinates me about you Zarnaxians? Hunter said conversationally. You have all this technology, all these advancements, but you missed the most important lesson Earth's history could teach you. And what lesson is that? Vrax asked, genuinely curious despite himself. The most dangerous predator isn't the one with the biggest claws or the sharpest teeth, Hunter said. It's the one that can think, plan, adapt, the one that sees a stronger opponent and, instead of running, figures out how to set a trap. He gestured toward the sky. You came here expecting to find prey. Instead, you found another predator, one that climbed to the top of a very competitive food chain without natural armor, without significant physical strength, without built-in weapons. Through technology, Vrax said dismissively. Through ingenuity, Hunter corrected. Technology is just one expression of that. We became apex predators because we outthought everything that tried to eat us, then turned their own strengths against them. As Vrax prepared to depart, Hunter offered one final observation. You know what the real irony is, Commander? If you'd just asked nicely from the beginning, we probably would have shared our resources with you. Cooperation is another one of our adaptations. 6 months later, when the Zarnaxian invasion fleet arrived at the coordinates where Earth should have been, they found instead a greeting party of human vessels constructed with a curious blend of Earth and Zarnaxian technology. Leading this delegation was the newly appointed human ambassador to the Galactic community, a former survival instructor named Hunter. And standing beside him, much to the invasion commander's shock, was Commander Vrax himself, now bearing the equally new title of Zarnaxian ambassador to Earth. The lesson had been learned on a planet where even the herbivores had evolved horns, spikes, venom, and camouflage just to survive. Only a fool would underestimate the species that had outcompeted them all. Humanity hadn't just studied Earth's apex predators.